Radio Democracy go talk to the chairman for the SLPP Election Campaign Manifesto Committee. Chair, we na Jacob Jusu Saffa for Sekadasa one for welcome inside the studio. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Yeah, good morning, family. Good morning.
Continue for stay with me inside the program. We'll come to you shortly.
A little bit more. I want to make it a little bit more attractive to people. By pay very good salaries to people. Get smart people also to the public service. We're going to create an opportunity for them. That is what you need. We can't hide away from it. If anybody tell me say you can go to do something as alone without improving the public service, then you're missing the point. So we didn't want to be dishonest. We didn't want to hide it. We wanted to take it as part of the big fives. And we're obliged to that. Right. To what you want to call bread and butter, it takes a while. And it happens through the job you create. Until those jobs are created, people will not earn money. If they don't earn money, things become difficult. Granted, price may be high, but this is not unique. I mean, I don't want to get back. Everybody don't talk about everybody. When I say no, we're not saying on television. It's a global issue all over the place. That's not enough excuse. The fact remains, we as a government will be steadfast to make sure the impact is not realized. It might have been worse under other governments.
But no, look at the current situation. Is we discard this global hunger index, or maybe it's
no, I didn't tell you that,
calculated.
Sir. I don't tell you that.
No, look at the current situation. What in government with all the policies standing or the implementations them we government don't do, the situation still continue. What in government they do for improve this living condition of the people? For the ordinary man, you go market today, if not 10,000 buy something tomorrow, it go be 15,000.
No, it's not correct. Well, I don't go market yesterday, today I come. That one of the use their statistics and it's not like that. I can challenge you now, go market today, more keep for 1 week, let's see whether it increase. So
prices
they increase, but not like you go market today, tomorrow you go back and increase. You understand? It's not the increase that way they talk. So our price of goods have been some price of goods that they do within a range. There's high inflation. I'm not going to say there's no high inflation, but there's high inflation. But this government is trying as best as we can to keep the prices stable. And eventually to reduce it and to keep the inflation down. And that is a pledge again in this manifesto. But I don't want us to reduce development to macroeconomics. That should be a grave mistake we can do as a country. A grave mistake. It's like telling me the human capital is not important. It's like telling me energy is not important. It's like telling me other things not important. There's a lot of commitment in this manifesto. Where you get, I wish you would get time for reader. If you go to the economic chapter, you get able to read them, everybody get able to understand. You see, so please, not that they are not important, but allow me to probably come in. You could call the Minister of Finance and the Central Bank Governor later on if you want to get into economics. Like I tell you about education, I don't want to go into the details of it. Let me deal with overall. Right. What has President Bill promised to do for this country?
Okay. Well, if you listen to the program, you listen to Good Morning Salon, where they come to you from 98.1 FM. And the program this morning, we get Jacob Jusu Saffa there this morning for talk about the manifesto where President just launched as we go into elections. Well, the time from the studio clock now 1 minute after 8. We still they come over to you, Mr. Minister, and also Chairman for the Manifesto Committee. Now, in this new manifesto, the Salon People's Party leadership go Punado over the weekend. Then get to now called the Big Five, when one feed Salon, human capital development, youth employment scheme, on a call yes, revamping the public service architecture, and also the tech and infrastructure. Big words for Sierra Leoneans team. Now let we take one after the other. Or before we take one after the other, let we look at why when I think say this what we call the Big Five, now the problem of Sierra Leone.
Well, we don't think that the problem of Sierra Leone, that the priorities we want set to Sierra Leone. There are several problems with Sierra Leone. But we decide to even among those more prioritize. One of the experiences we'll come everywhere was funny, but now we don't get some base. So we decide to more prioritize. We choose for number one, feed Salon. Because I believe say most of what people are calling bread and butter is because there's no food. And believe me, if we don't address food problem, we keep talking about price rises. And interestingly, this price rise is more of an urban phenomenon. Because we don't produce food in a free ton, we buy everything. That make we keep grumbling about price rises. In typical rural area, because they produce, they are a little bit better when it comes to food production. That I know, that they have said. We've traveled widely, they give us food where we can go there. Remember, we spend over $250 million yearly for import food, rice. That import when the import rice, it creates a situation which will balance of trade, it affects the balance of trade. When the balance of trade is affected, that they create a situation where they call the depreciation of the currency itself. Because what it means, therefore, when they import more than what we export. What you need for improve your exchange rate is to export more than what you import. So for reduce your import bill as a government, the first thing you have to do is to produce rice in this country. When you will get rice enough, that will improve the currency itself and that will affect prices positively. That quite apart from that, this is a sure way of reducing poverty. Over 50% of the poverty in this country is as a result of food poverty. If you have food inflation, the moment you go up, it affects the entire inflation basket. Yeah. So we believe, say, one way to address the cost of living problem, one way to increase school attendance, one way to increase healthcare delivery services, one way to take care of this nation, and one way to increase the macroeconomy, to improve the macroeconomy, is food production.
All right.
That is why we, as a government, don't put food production as number one.
One way where you don't talk for reduce poverty in this country and for less alone able for feeding self. Not a secret, say lots of resources don't go into agriculture in the past, and more continue for going to it. For let we able for feed we self inside the next 5 years. Where now the government is number one priority. How you think say una go for do am?
But first of all, just by way of when we say we do something as a flagship, you now turn education around. How would you turn education around? This is going to be very close to the president. We not the only increase resource allocation, the entire ministry will be restructured in a proper way. The quite apart from that, we increase the private sector participation in it. We're going to establish what they call a farmer service center for input supply. With the modernized extension services, with the do innovation extension services, with the get homegrown school feeding programs as well, food production. With the aggressively, with the effectively coordinate the donor assistance and the NGO support to the sector. The relevant policy, the legal framework will be addressed. And when they only talk about rice, we talk about non-rice commodities. Saloma, and we even need to the public education so that we reduce our reliance on rice and look for other food crop commodities. Yam day, banana day, all that thing day. But apart from that, we also make sure say we provide credit facilities, because that's one of the major problems of production in this country is lack of credit facility. Special credit options or credit facilities will be created for people. It is going to be a part of a presidential priority, and it will receive the highest level of support. It's not going to be things as usual. And we don't find out, say, this is something within 2 years. Even our current records, we improve self-sufficiency in food production about 70 to 75%. So, small injection what we do for the past 2 years, we're able to improve on those figures. So we don't get a clear idea of this, that within the next 2 years or 3 years, we'll be very sure that, except possibly it's imported rice, but we have enough rice here to eat, to consume.
So, now, let me look at the education sector.
You want me go back by education?
We need to go to the... we are still on agriculture.
We
look at the agriculture, not education to go to. The education sector, already they receive 22% of the country GDP. Now agriculture don't come as priority. How the agriculture they receive support in terms of the GDP or the money where they allocate to them, and then two issues are what will be the status of the education and the agriculture as flagship programs?
Well, maybe let's use this opportunity for correct one public mistake. It's not a percentage of GDP, not correct. Now, percentage of the domestic budget. 22% of the domestic budget is allocated to the education sector. That's one. Then agriculture with the gap of 4 or 5%, we can increase to 10% in line with the Maputo Accord. But it's not more of the resource allocation than the restructuring and the rearrangement within the sector. Remember, the agricultural sector is one sector. We don't talk so with good to a lot of private sector capital into it. It's not government that's going to be producing rice, but rather government creating the enabling environment for rice production.
All right. The big 5-1, you don't talk about feed salon and how we plan for do that. You say Leone and Segi, the Salon People's Party, and other mandates. The number 2, when I say human capital development, where we don't hear about in the past, but in this one, when I put nurturing skills for 21st century industry. mean, this is big for me. People are already up there. I go explain what you mean by nurturing skills for 21st century under the number 2 human capital development.
Now, digital education really we talk about here in this case. I mean, for they operate in 24th century, you don't want to operate like a 1961 man or somebody born 1961 or what they call. You got to definitely develop the digital experience skills of people. So what they try for the modern education, when they give people then, will they able to compete? The world is so competitive these days. If you believe, say, you don't get a PhD degree in 1961 or what have you, therefore you have all the experience in the world, you are making a big mistake. You may have a very young 26-year-old boy who don't get a PhD from Harvard, who get good experience passing. So you got to definitely make sure that you get you provide skills for meet up the job market. We live in an industrial revolution. So that's what we are talking about. The things that we've done in the area of human capital, we have to consolidate them. That's why the theme of the manifesto, consolidating the gains and accelerating transformation. We can't leave those good things. We have to consolidate them. We've got the education now. We have to implement it. We have to improve on it. We have to improve on social protection.
Still on President Bill, a agenda or a manifesto for lead Sierra Leone in the next 5 years if he gets the mandate. Jacob Justus Saffa still doing at the program, and he don't explain but waiting the manifesto mean and the thing that way they inside the manifesto. The last one we talk about, they seriously concerned about youth employment, and he say according to him and they inside the manifesto because according to him they're concerned about the serious youth employment in the country. Well, the big 5 we continue for talk about them, and now to number 5 we've make them up the big 5 now: tech and infrastructure, pathways for sustained economic growth. Again, tech and infrastructure, how we reach now the priority of the SLPP.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, technology is a way of life. I mean, we are not living, we live in a different world. If you not get technology, things become difficult. So we get what they call e-commerce, e-government, we get agtech, we get different type of things. We don't get the national switch on. So we get to digitize as much as possible in this country because it drives efficiency, it reduces cost, and it increases speed of implementation. And we get to link that technology to the very infrastructure. Infrastructure is an enabler for every development. If you don't have energy, for example, you don't have good roads, you don't have water supply, you don't have communications, you can build economic headways in the other areas. So even for drive your human capital development, you need infrastructure. You need good roads to even transport the input. Agriculture, without roads, you cannot fix it. You need energy for hospital operation, for efficiency in the hospitals and the like. So there's an interlinkage. So all the aspects taken here, there's a governance aspect to this manifesto, that the public service architecture. There's an infrastructure out there. They talk about technology and infrastructure out there for produce us the necessary food and then for develop the human capital. So that's the way the manifesto, this big 5 emerge. You have 2 big enablers here: the public service and the infrastructure itself. You see, and once you get this one, you produce the jobs. Then you develop the human capital. Where you develop the human capital, produce the food, then you create the jobs. You definitely will have your bread and butter.
All right. Well, let me look at Musa. These are the 5 big 5s of the current administration. Then we see the one for do for Sierra Leoneans. Them as a voter, where you get 4 votes. You want for C for Salon. They inside this big 5.
Well, maybe not the big, whether they decide the big 5, whether they decide the manifesto.
Okay.
Because others are also important. We just say no more among several things. Let's get 5.
All right.
But
I think this man they want job for the youth.
I think since
they want food to eat.
The opening
because always talk about bread and butter.
The opening of the program, he said, then do a stock take and then engage community people and within the people and come up with and then put the manifesto and the big 5. I think. We don't work now for the ordinary Sierra Leoneans them for ensure say they're able to reach their full potential. If the manifesto committee say they reach out to the people and then it's a decision of the people.
All right. Well, let me look at education, the flagship program. Like you say, I mean, you don't start job and then you say, okay, now left and go to other thing because you feel like say you don't exhaust education. But if you not exhaust them fully, you find out see all the gains go down in some areas like for the education. Education have been government priority the last administration. Now we don't see this big five. Education not explicit in it as it stand in the last administration. So waiting will happen now to education in where you combine them to these big five.
Well, also, that's not quite correct. As a matter of fact, human capital development was the key agenda.
I say you not stand alone.
Yeah, well, you not stand because you cannot be educated if you not get a good well body. And one of the things we even say under health here is that we'll expand the free health care program to school-going children. Because a child is not healthy, a child is not nourished, you're not able to study, you're not able to do anything. So, because we don't finance education alone, just providing the input, without those other things, it's going to be difficult. That's why we introduce the free health care. We'll extend the free health care to school-going children. So it's very much part of it. And if you read the document, it tells you we're going to sustain those gains. You see, as I said, the big five column where it is inside the manifesto is more like a summary of what is in the big manifesto itself. But all the actions for education, definitely we cannot leave education behind. But just remember, for President Bill, conceptually, the human capital agenda now be education, health, agriculture itself, food, then social protection. These are all components of the human capital agenda. Because if most of them not get job, you don't go to school. That's the reason why we introduced the school meal program. But we know what we are spending on school meal when we know we can produce the food in this country. You see? So that's the linkage. The rest assured, without that we have even said two things fundamental to we have said in our commitment we have now in education. Just to come to that. First, we formalize the how do we call it now? The foundation learning. But the education system formalize the 160 of the reception foundation so that right at they would start to catch them young. That's one. Would they even try to make sure so we get predictable ways of financing education, which they call innovative ways, rather than just rely on the budget itself. Then would they make sure that we add to the menu. We don't finance a sanitary pad that was promoted by the First Lady, where government will not support as well. But now they take as part of the menu. So that the students will not only be given their textbooks, but they will be provided sanitary pads. I mean, so we don't only rely on private sector contribution for buying sanitary pads. You know, like what the government started, it has to continue. Right. And therefore go for every other child in this country. So these are the few things. Of course, we are coming back with the boardroom facilities. Big time. And everything's capital time. We don't already as I talk to you, we've started it. The buildings are going on in Pujon, Kailan, at the Bond and other places.
For them to get boarding schools?
No, but boarding school necessary. Oh. One way to reduce teenage pregnancy through boarding school facilities.
All right. So, Una, don't do this big manifesto. Musa?
Yes. Me colleague don't go through the highlights or the big five of the manifesto, and me still concerned with the bread and butter issue. We Salona, one of the largest importers of rice in the world. And the government, they promise in next 2 years, Salona go import rice again. For somebody they listen now, go be like in a welcoming statement, but how government could achieve this and how realistic this thing?
Well, first of all, as I said, you have to organize the farmers themselves at that level. You got to make sure they get access to the inputs. We already have a lot of tractors. We have access to more tractors now than ever before. That's what we have over 500 tractors in the field. So, as a strategy, we bring the private sector in for leather the tractor, and that is working. Me himself where they are. This year alone, I think I do about 750 acres of land under cultivation. I mean about 250 per 9 500 I did it for communities. But I get access to it. I pay for the fare, I pay the cost of it. That's going on. So you get for organize that, you get for make sure you have more of that. With creating the farmer service center and at district capital towns, where farmers will go there and have everything, and possibly they even get a credit facility there. The central ministry responsible for agricultural development itself, it needs very serious attention. We want to make it professional so that they're planning, their data collection, their planning, their implementation, their delivery, their monitoring is very, very efficient. So the entire value chain will be addressed. And when you talk about feed the nation, you're not just talking about rice, but non-rice, livestock, aquaculture, and so on and so forth.
What think will be government's budget allocation to this sector?
We want to push it to 10%. Because, but let me just say something here. Yes, one pusher, but the actual thing we want to do, where we cannot provide, because if government provide 20% in our country, if it's all organized, we're not going to use ourselves. What we really want to do is to get the private sector engaged in our culture. Really, private sector. We've started it, and there's a growing interest. If you go, you receive private sector farm. We need to probably provide for additional incentives. We need to probably work on roads. That make, if you see we agenda now for roads, roads leading to production center, the Toma booms, the Samus and the like are going to be given priorities. Roads leading out of the country border towns are going to be given priority because these are production hubs, centers where they attract, when the private sector come inside.
What thing don't they happen to the Toma Bomb Rest project to government do they talk about over the past year?
It's still going on. It's producing. Yeah. Toma Bomb, let me say something. Toma Bomb is a big area. And in fact, as a matter of fact, President just came to the Riverine area from Bundapi area as well. It's all part of the Toma Bomb bed. Toma Bomb is just the headquarters. Production is going on. The project is active.
Mr. Saffa, let we look at the
money. But
money.
it will increase year after year.
Let we look at the monitoring, if the manifesto capture the monitoring of these eventually, if waiting the UNA plan it can't to pass. Because we look at now the way they take, we produce them like Pamai, we see even the rest, they export them, you smuggle them out of the country, go to neighboring country them. In this one way, the government's plan now, if you get the mandate for the next 5 years, UNA capture monitoring in this manifesto?
Well, yeah, we're monitoring generally, definitely, because we have the National Monitoring Agency where we don't establish where the acts don't be able to go parliament. In the parliament right now, we hope after elections, we just deal with Andy. But in terms of which you talk about smuggling and the likes, it's more of a policy issue. You know, and it's an infrastructure issue. That's the way we look at it. That is why we have said roads leading to district capital towns. We're going to make sure they're improved. In the Maposi, they're very close to Penguia, border very close to Guinea, or Debaiwala, you know, or the Samu, that's some village around Samu. He is in Volego, Guinea. Where do you expect him to take his produce? And nearest market. So what you do, you improve the road leading to that production center. You know, so that the person who gets it for can go outside. One wants to do that. But also remember, some of them are not really smuggling. They may be taking it, but not through the main border. But the road where Sabi. But we inside ECOWAS, and there's free movement of goods and services, particularly agricultural produce. We cannot restrict the export of goods as well to Guinea. If you let Pamano go Guinea, the man will say, no cancer lawyer.
The manifesto come.
But what is important for us as a government, what one of the things we have promised here is that government got for coming in there for creating an agency who can mop up the excess production. So that when people they produce a mambolo or other side, some most of their produce when the neighbor said before they can go Guinea, would they buy and for distribution in the market? Because that's a key concern. And that's one of the issues that came from the paramount in the Mambolo during the President Bill visit. That yes, would they produce now? We probably will get what produce now. If far for can go return. So now Guinea people they come Guinea they can't buy. So per April, when I buy the rest what they produce. And that is one arrangement we get for do. We buy those excess production, excess produce there, put them together, now we could use for school fees or national feeding for military and police.
The manifesto come almost 4 weeks to elections. One go and ask if enough time there for take this manifesto round so people wait on long for see waiting the party then gets for the ordinary Sierra Leoneans them. And now the Salon People's Party over the weekend pull the new manifesto now do. But the timing kind of small for like una care the messages then go to Sierra Leoneans. How una plan for do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe now one of the things that they will need for us, the nation need for debate. Manifesto launch is the launch of a campaign. You cannot launch a manifesto before the campaign period starts. Otherwise, you go fall foul of the law. Unfortunately, whether you write it 3 months before, but unfortunately, the campaign period is kind of 1 month. So we don't do a manifesto. We are just waiting for the launch. We could have launched it, but within 1 month, we try as best as we can to spread it. But as I say, it's one thing where we need for probably discuss whether we can extend campaign period. But again, the implication for extend campaign period beyond 1 month to 3 months, like telling government the nation has to go low at that time. It's too long a period for the nation to suffer. You know, maybe we could keep it 1 month and maybe relax the regulation, like can launch your manifesto anytime before that. But as at now, if you launch your manifesto before campaign launch, then you CPPRC will find you one thing.
What then, apart from the work away you say the committee do or the party do and get stock of what people want, what do you consider before putting this manifesto together? I ask this one because the last manifesto I could recall that we get the Minister of Basic Education the last MC. The manifesto, the promise on the education being big, but later government shape and down. Now government don't come with the agriculture, the promise. In 2 years' time, importation goes up.
No, you don't stop. When they talk about import, right? It's like, people will have to have a choice. So variety they're supposed to go and don't get her. But government will not be under that pressure. So I don't want to take a literally and say importation will come to 0 cents. You understand? But it's like without importing, we will still get enough to eat. It's just a question of options. So them like Jasmine rice me want will not get here now. I go import her. That is the understanding. When they say importation will stop, you bring it down to a very low level. It's not like a 0-0 import. So more get that understanding very clearly. You see, in terms of putting manifesto together, as I say, President Biodun is the president in this country who have traveled over nearly 120 chiefdoms. And in each of those chiefdoms, he goes, the paramount chief they talk, the woman they talk, the one youth man they talk. They've been saying quite a lot of things by way of request. Some of those requests require some policy actions. Some of them will reflect in some of the things we've done in government. Some of them will learn from it. We've attended over 100 cabinet meetings. We've enacted over how many laws? A lot of experience. We've engaged internationally as well. So all those thinking inform we. And some of us SF we do that thing. We are people who get renowned knowledge of what's happening in Sierra Leone. I've been part of 3-4 manifesto committee myself. I've been Minister of Finance. I've been all over the place. So the thing where they are is extremely perspective. It's based on real life. So when you talk about that and the experience we don't get, don't make most of the things will be probably a few things we'll be talking about. We find out they're not realistic. They are not in this manifesto.
So things that within that manifesto are not realistic.
But within a time period, for a 5-year period. Everything that those manifestos are realistic. But some of them you cannot achieve them in 5 years.
So that's why.
So what happened? We only start them.
That's why I ask again, how realistic the things I'm within inside this manifesto for the 5-year period when they ask Salon people back for election.
Yeah, but the other thing I want to say, it doesn't mean because you say the bill, for example, Longe Bridge, then once you don't start them, it doesn't. You don't need to complete it. You know, what have you done to do? For example, the common thing we like to talk about. Let me use your opportunity to talk about. We reduce leakages. Yes, of course, you've started reducing leakages, but the leakages were so much that we have to get back to the laws. Now we have the how do you call it now? The duty waiver law. There's that first thing authority Minister of Finance get and NRA get for just giving it to him. Where do they get? We needed to amend that law. We needed to get the policy. But for get that policy, we need to understand the dynamics in our key, which we've done. We come up with a policy, then we don't come with an act. So these are fundamental aspects of reducing leakages. So as I say, yes, you can see we'll not reduce leakages to 0, but we've started reducing leakages. The existing framework where they for reduce leakages, we redefine it and make it more robust. So what we are going to do, we consolidate those gains and accelerate the transformation.
This manifesto now way for ask people them for vote the party back, and if the party win, we go implement this. How now they take this message to the people them for understand within the inside this manifesto and our government plan for implementing.
When I make about the call with the communications man and the Minister of Information, the various ministers, they will come explain to them. But as I say, we use the normal communication channels. You have the radio like I'm here. Today, you just can't get me. What I'm doing basically is an overview. There are specific people working for Canada Radio who will talk about details of what is in the various sectors. You see, you have the social media. You must have seen the social media do quite a lot of things. You don't see the newspaper, don't you so? You know, so there are quite a lot of ways. And people then they talk about our upline as well. But the good thing about us really is that, yes, we have to say it. Because, you know, from when they're born, every day we read the Lord's Prayer, they read Al-Fatiha. We're going to continue saying it. But there are a lot of positive people already know. President Biodun normally can talk, say, where you go to that village. By the time it's not for talk, People they don't talk. Always say, well, what I get for talk again? What I don't do when I don't talk? What you make for talk again? So people know what's happening. People know say we don't send the beginner go school, they need pay. People know say we don't increase the enrollment. They don't say we don't get school feeding. People they know say we don't make the rules. People they know say we don't give mini grades. That make President Bill talk say, if you believe in this, vote Mother Bill. If you believe in free quality education, vote President Bill. If you believe in good public image of Sierra Leone, vote President Bill. If you believe in enough sport, vote President Bill.
As my quick one. The 22%, the free education go continue for receiver.
Of course,
with this manifesto.
We will not rest until we reduce education in this country. Which is still high.
According to the NEC calendar, campaign don't start 1 month to the election. And how optimistic you they say the Salon People's Parties, Sierra Leoneans, they go vote, for the next 5 years?
Yeah, because the records are there to show. What we don't do in the past 5 years, for the next government said 10 years, we don't do it. We've done more roads where the top was work hard. We've done more roads in this country than before. Check with the salary. We've given more energy. We've done more in the area of health. Of course, education don't mention. We got more land under acreage under cultivation than government in the past 10 years. The previous government said 10 years. Take any sector I can challenge you on them. If you want to do serious account, check it. Check the audit. Me, I tell you, tell me no more one sector, no more going to her. Let me check what we did over the period. The facts are there to be seen, not to lie with the lie.
All right, so like where you be explaining.
So in essence, what I'm saying, you have only two options in the world. Either you want to go to heaven or you want to go to hell. So if you want to go to heaven, vote SNPP. If you want to go to hell, go vote other party.
So as you tell Sierra Leonean STEM for do that, we end with the economy. People know you as professional, economist. You don't do like what you say in the Ministry of Finance. Now you're Chief Minister. We been get a bank governor we say we forget another loans and we money change them. We see then they go, he come back and he's still there on the market. Inflation, you don't explain but the cost of living, things are high. And as you left the studio now, almost 9 o'clock inside the program, people dollars still they go up every day. As we go into serious campaign and the elections eventually on the 24th, what you get for Sierra Leoneans about the economy and the inflation of the go where the dollar they go up?
Well, what you go say first of all in terms of the current state of affairs for the depreciation, as I've been explaining a little bit. We are going to elections, so you don't have a lot of people coming with foreign currency, and a lot of people are holding on their until they see the elections when the election don't pass. So you get a shock on the economy as well. But as I say, you are not going to develop this country if you don't stabilize the economy. And it's just mandatory. For us, macroeconomic stability is imperative. We have to reduce prices, we have to reduce the dollar. We have a clear agenda how to go about it. There might be, I must admit, 1 or 2 mistakes will lead to the situation today. But this will be things of the past. And we can stabilize this place in the next 3 months. As quickly as immediately after election, we will bring all those variables down. But as I say, in a more structural manner, in a more sustained manner, until you improve food production. It's not easy to improve the balance of trade. And by extension, it's not easy to improve the exchange rate itself. Because you must reduce your import. And one major import item is food import. Once we reduce food import, we are where to go. Then we must expand on our export.
All right.
But for your export, it takes a little bit of time. So we don't try to say,